congressional leadership trying to explain to them the need to get some type of border security. And she thought she made her message clear, but when the omnibus came out and there wasn't sufficient money for the wall, she had to go to a plan B.
Wait a minute. Are you speaking for the woman who's actually standing by live in our nation's capital? There she is, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen. We thank you very much for joining us live today.
Good morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
So what's the deal with the National Guard? How many? How soon? Where's the money coming from?
Okay, so let's take them in order here. The way this process works, as you might know, is we work with the governors and we work with the National Guard Bureau. So the idea here is to choose the different mission sets that the National Guard can perform to help our Border Patrol. So we have a variety of recommendations that we've made. We've started the negotiations. I've spoken with all the governors. I'll speak with them again today. But this is not, the idea here, of course, is for this to be effective and productive and supportive of our mission. So we are interested in what the governors think the answer is, those on the ground, certainly my agents and officials, and of course the Guard Bureau. So we're working on that negotiation as we speak.
So you said you've talked to all the governors. Did you talk to Governor Jerry Brown in California?
I did. I spoke with him yesterday. We sent him some information with respect to our best advice as how we could use the Guard to support our mission, and I said that's a beginning of a conversation. Then the men and women on the front lines, if you will, whether they be state employees or federal employees, usually have a much better grasp of what we need. So we're doing this as an iterative conversation.
Madam Secretary, let me ask something. If he doesn't use his National Guard, can you get National Guard from another state and use it on the border, since it's their state but it's our country?
Yeah, and I understand the question. What I would say is I will be speaking with the governor again today. He has supported such use of the use in support of the Border Patrol in the past. As you know, we've done this at least twice in the last 10 decades. So I'd like to have further conversations with him before I jump ahead of him and how he would like to secure his border.
Sure. When you had the conversation with Governor Jerry Brown, did you talk about the fact that it seems like a lot of Southern California is turning against him and his sanctuary state policies?
You know, we only touched briefly on sanctuary states to agree that we would talk about it again, but we didn't actually spend a lot of time. What I wanted to make sure that he does understand is, from a border security perspective, we have drugs flowing over, we have a lot of TCO activity, we have criminals, and then of course we have illegal migrants, and so working with him to address all those is really what we talked about.
I know that other administrations have done this in the past. You mentioned that President Obama, George W. Bush did this as well. Did it help? Is that why you've decided to send the National Guard down there? Exactly what are they going to be doing, and did it help in the past?
So in conjunction, in my conversations with the governors and some members of Congress over the last 48 hours, it's certainly their strong belief that, in fact, it made a huge difference. And in some cases, they believe that it immediately ended all of the illegal traffic. So I think we have good case studies that it works. To your second question, what would they be doing? Operation Phalanx, as you know, was a way in which the National Guard could provide air support. So we'd be looking for them to do that. They help provide medical care for those that we do interdict. They'd help us do fleet maintenance. We need a lot of mechanics to use in that terrain. So it's a lot of support functions that will free up the Border Patrol to do what they do best, which is enforce border laws.
It's a little disappointing, though. I guess by law, you're not allowed to arrest illegal immigrants. You're not allowed to investigate crimes, make arrests, stop or search vehicles, or seize drugs. That's very limiting, don't you think? Or can you change any of that?
We have everything on the table. I can assure you we're looking at every way in which we can act in the executive branch. But I really will continue to ask Congress to please work with me in the next couple months to pass legislation. Some of the things you just described are absolutely a result of loopholes in our system. They probably were never meant to be there. I never talked to a senator or congressman who doesn't tell me that they're in favor of border security. Right. So now is the time to fix it. Let's get together and put forward a legislative proposal that can pass.
You talked yesterday in the press conference about some of these loopholes, and you said that they know about our loopholes and they're taking advantage of it, like catch and release. We've been told that the president could end catch and release with an executive order. He doesn't need Congress to help him. If that's the case, is he going to do that?
Yeah, so on one hand, he's already done that. Catch and release is a very broad concept. What it meant specifically when this president took office was the practice of the previous administration when they apprehended somebody who is not a criminal or who is not on the top of their list, they would release them. So they would catch and release. President Trump was very firm the moment he got into office to end that. He did that through executive order. We do not do that. We enforce all immigration laws now at the Department of Homeland Security. The second kind of catch and release, though, is based on a court case. It's a loophole in our system. It requires us to release family units that we interdict after 20 days. That we are working to see if we have authority in the executive branch to change, but it has always been part of our legislative process, and that would be the best way to do it. Congress is the ones who make immigration law, as you know, so we need their help here.
Sure.
Secretary Nielsen, there's an anti-sanctuary push now, as Ainsley kind of touched on, through California. Many were stunned that a governor would make a sanctuary state. Many were stunned inside California, and these counties seem to be standing up one by one saying this is not okay with me. Where do you stand? How much does it mean to our governance, our country's security for you to win this case against California?
Well, to me, I think it means a lot. But the reason might not be what you think. The reason is because there are so many misperceptions about a sanctuary city. So if you bear with me, I'll answer your first question by telling you how I think about it. Sanctuary cities, the concept began many, many years ago to protect illegal aliens who were victims of crime. That's how the concept started. Mm-hmm. It then became perverted over time, and now the sanctuary is for the criminals. So I think you've heard many administrations say this, but I'll say it again because it's true. When we cannot arrest those criminal aliens within a safe setting, such as a jail, we have to send our agents and officers into the field. It puts them in danger. It's no longer a controlled environment. But it also, very importantly, puts the illegal, but otherwise legal, meaning they haven't committed any crimes after the illegal entry. It puts them in danger. Sure. Because now we're taking a potential violent situation into their communities. So I am always open to having this conversation. I did have this conversation with some of the governors that I spoke to when we were talking about the National Guard. Everybody wants anybody who's a victim of a crime to be able to report it. Absolutely. So we're not trying to chill that. That's not the intent. Mm-hmm. We will help states message on that. But I can't imagine anybody deciding that their first and foremost job as an executive leader is not to protect the safety of their cities. This does not do that.
Well, ultimately, it does turn some of those cities into magnets for people who are in the country illegally for a variety of reasons. Madam Secretary, just about 90 minutes ago, the guy who lives in the big house behind you did some tweeting. He said the caravan, talking about going across Mexico a few days ago, is largely broken up thanks to the strong immigration laws of Mexico and their willingness to use them so as not to cause a giant scene at the border. Because of the Trump administration's actions, border crossings are at a still unacceptable 46-year low. Stop drugs. You know, to the casual observer, it does look as if the president's tweets a couple of days ago about why isn't Mexico doing anything about this actually helped stop it.
I think the president is clear. He has been clear. He will continue to be clear. He made a commitment to the American people to secure our border. He's going to do that. I myself have been in conversations with my Mexican counterparts over the last 2 weeks. Together, we have had discussions on the caravan. The caravan, as you say, is dissipating. It's a yearly caravan. This is usually what happens. But having said that, we have seen more cooperation from Mexican officials than we ever have before on this particular caravan, thanks to the president's leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, Madam Secretary, you went around painstakingly and met with leadership before the omnibus was passed. It's as if they didn't listen, Republicans and Democrats. What did you want? What didn't you get?
It's a good question. I think the most frustrating, it would be hard to pick just one, but let me pick two. The two most frustrating, we have men and women in the Border Patrol that have been part of protecting our border for decades, well before 9/11, well before the Homeland Security Department was created. These men and women have done assessments after assessments over the year. They understand the flows, the traffic patterns, the danger, and what works in terms of impedance and denial. So I was very disappointed that Congress chose chose, rather than listening to the experts, to tell us and tell the experts where and how we can build the wall. To me, that's not their job. It's the job of the operators who live and breathe that every day in conjunction with the local communities. So that would be my first. My second is bed space. I mean, we all know the only way to enforce immigration law is once I interdict somebody, I can remove them. And if I can't do that, I need to be able to detain them until I can remove that. And if I can't do that, we no longer have border security. So given the numbers we had last month, they just came out, 50,000 in April is the number that we interdicted or otherwise was inadmissible. That is a 200% increase from March of 2017. This crisis is real. There are many more people coming to take advantage of these loopholes and are being trained by the smugglers.
Well, that's one of the reasons the National Guard is heading down south sooner than later. All right, Secretary Nielsen, thank you very much for joining us live today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
All right, 17 minutes before the top of the hour, Rob Reiner slamming Roseanne Barr, calling her a mouthpiece for the president. But isn't she just representing a lot of everyday blue-collar Americans? What's wrong with that?